Today, I'm going to demonstrate how to deploy to a Google Cloud App Engine or Managed VMs app from a Travis CI environment. We're going to start from github.com/Google Cloud Platform/continuous deployment demo, which currently deploys to a cloud project, and fork a new repo and create a new cloud project and recreate the steps necessary to deploy from that. So to start, make sure you have the Google Cloud SDK installed and the Travis CI command line tool installed, which requires Ruby and Gem to install. So the first step is to fork a new repo, and I will fork this to a personal account. And I will clone that repo to a local directory and cd into the directory. Next step is to go to travisci.org and make sure our repo is enabled. So if I click on my name in the top right and make sure my GitHub repos are synced, I should be able to see the repo I just created in the list and make sure it's enabled. So I found it right here. I'm going to enable it right now. The next step is I'm going to create a new cloud project to deploy this app to. In this case, I will call it my-travis-demo. Since the app is an App Engine app that accesses the Books API, I need to create an API key to access the Books API key and also enable the Books API. So to enable the Books API, under APIs and Auth, click APIs, search for the Books API, and enable it. Next, I want to create a credential to access the Books API. So go to Add Credentials and click on API key and create a server key. And I can leave this blank to just whitelist all APs. So I can copy this API key, and if you look in this repo, I have an API key.py.sample, and the idea is you copy the sample and remove the sample part, and you substitute your API key, and this gets imported as a Python variable. Now it's very important that you don't add the API key to your repo. Next, we want to create a second set of credentials, which is the service account, and this is used to authenticate the gcloud command line tool. So I click service account, and I create a new JSON file, and that will get downloaded, and I can copy that. And once again, I have a client secret.json.sample, and I'll copy my Travis demo from my downloads and call it client secret.json. And again, if you want to know what that looks like, in the repo, there's a client secret.json.sample. So I now have two sets of credentials. And if we look at my Travis file, the decryption step is here. And we decrypt this credentials.tar.gz. And the reason is that Travis only lets you decrypt one file. So we need to combine those into a single archive. So to do that, do a Travis login and make sure you're logged in. And again, you have to install the Travis command line tool before this screencast. And these are my GitHub credentials I use to log in. And I run this Travis encrypt file on my archive. So I have to create that archive. I do a tar create zip file credentials.tar.gz, and I add my API key I just created and my client secret I just created. And all three of these are sensitive files that you have to make sure you don't add to your repo. We only add the encrypted credentials to the repo. So we do Travis encrypt file credentials.tar.gz and confirm the repo and confirm that we want to override the existing credentials. And it mentions that we could have used this add to automatically add our decryption line. And the reason I didn't do that is because it would delete all my comments. But we want to delete the existing decryption line and add our new one that actually correctly decrypts our credentials for this project. The other things we're going to want to change in the Travis file is here's the step where we use to download or deploy our app. We want to make sure we're using the right project. So if I go back to the Cloud Console and I go to Home, here's the name of my project ID, my Travis demo-1055. So I make sure that is correctly set, so it gets deployed to the correct project. And I also want to change my end-to-end test file to actually point to run the test against the correct URL, which will be projectid.appspot.com, which is where App Engine app get deployed to. Sorry. And finally, I can add my change credentials and Travis file and end-to-end test file all in a git commit and update credentials and project. And I can push, and we can go back to our Travis after I log into GitHub. We can go back to our Travis repo, and from the Travis screen, on the left-hand side, we can look for our new repo, which has a new build going. Now it's yellow because it just started. And we can watch the repo get checked out and the gcloud command line tool gets installed, which you can look in the Travis file to see how that works. And we authenticate with the decrypted credentials, and we deploy to the expected URL, and then we run the end-to-end test. Once that's done, we can see at the top our Travis project will turn green, which means the test pass. So that's all you need to do to download service account credentials and use the gcloud command from a Travis CI environment. If you want to see how this is done for a Managed VMs app, I have a branch in here called Managed VMs, which is very similar. And you can check out the README for more information. Thanks for watching.